dogs. Holy shit. Holy smokes. Now that was close, and I caught that on this camera right here, the DJI Action 6. Those dogs had no business doing what they were doing. And full disclaimer, I did not hit that dog. It was super close, but no, he lived. I was grateful to look back in the rearview mirror and see that he was still barking his little doggo lungs out at me. Now, while those dogs love to play hogs of the road, I love to travel and I love to test gear while I am traveling. So today's video is about using action cameras as dash cams because that's what I do, and there's a bunch of good reasons why we should. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we are reviewing the GoPro Hero 13, the DJI Action 6, and the Insta360 Ace Pro 2, used specifically as dash cameras because these things are wonderful to use as dash cameras. First of all, they capture up to 8K with these two, 5.3K with this one, and you get these fast frame rates like 60 frames per second up to 120 frames per second, so you can slow that footage down if you happen to come across a van of pigs in Thailand. Now, I gotta say, I've done a ton of testing with these cameras, and there is only one that I really would say that is better than the others, and the other two are just okay. One of them's got a big problem. So first, I want to talk about the different modes that we can use with these cameras. The one that I use the most is like a pre-recording, or with the GoPro Hero 13, it's called Hindsight. And how you set it up is to the menu. I've got a setting here called Dash Cam. That's just a preset that I've built into this. So if we tap the menu and we slide on down to capture, there's an option there called Hindsight. So what we're going to do is turn that on, and GoPro gives us two options here, either 15 seconds or 30 seconds. That's what you get. So once that's turned on and we back out, you'll see Hindsight is on, and it's showing a +4, +5, a +6. That's going to go all the way up to 30, and that's just telling you how much capture you have behind you. And if you want it to stop, you just hit stop. So these kind of recordings, they just allow you to capture that 15 seconds or whatever, so you can just hit that record button when you see something cool happen, and you know that you've got the whole leading up to it, and you catch everything. The Action 6 calls it straight out pre-record, and for this one, we just hop into the settings. It's very easy to do. The thing I like about this is you can pick your resolution and frame rate first. So 4K, 4:3 aspect ratio, that's what I always run the dash camera on. And to do this, we just hit the top left, that little camera icon, and here we have different modes. Video, pre-record, there's a whole bunch here, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, all the way up to 5 minutes. With the Hero, it was 15 or 30, that was it. Loop record mode is also in here, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And last up is the Ace Pro 2, which also has this pre-recording. This one's a little trickier to find. What you got to do is swipe down from the top, slide on down, and then pre-record. It's up there. And then we can pick 15, 30, 60, or 90 seconds. So pretty similar options to that of the Action 6. And if you start recording, you'll see that it's going to be counting up. You'll notice when we change it to 8K, there is no option to pre-record. Whereas with the Action 6, we were definitely able to use pre-record in 8K. When we get into pure video, you can use pre-record. Now, while pre-recording is by far the one that I use the most with these cameras, there is a couple of other ones that we can use as well. All three of them have a loop recording mode, which allows you to just continuously record a loop, say 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whichever you want. The loop mode on the GoPro is actually quite tricky. You can rip through the menu all you want and you're not going to find it there. What you got to do to get your loop mode is you have to go into your video presets. You see this one is called looping. I made that one. So we got to make a new one. We create new preset, and then we can pick whatever we want. Here's make it air, and we'll call it epic, because it's going to be an epic loop. And then we just pick here looping, and we set that, and then we can set the rest of our options here. And then if we slide down further, we see the interval. And this is where we can pick how long the camera's going to loop and record over the last one. So 5, 20, 60 minutes, 120 minutes, and max 120 minutes. You better be plugged in if you're using this GoPro 13. The Action 6 also has a loop recording, and the options with that are it'll fill the whole memory card up, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour. So the Hero actually had 1 hour and 20 minutes. It was a little bit longer than what DJI offers. Loop mode with the Ace Pro 2, we hit that bottom left, and we have to go through here and find the loop. There it is, loop recording. And it's going to let us go into the options here, and we'll see frame rate, 60, 4K, and then the duration. So that is how long it's going to loop for. 1 minute, 3 minutes, all the way up to 30 minutes. So I think it was 100 minutes on the Ace Pro 2 and 120 on the Hero 13. So Hero still is ahead on that one, but there's no way the battery makes it 120 minutes at 60 FPS. The Ace Pro 2's got a special little road mode on it. But when I go into that, all I can really see is that it's going to give you, instead of a time that you're going to be recording, it gives you an amount of storage that it'll be using on your SD card. So maybe you're going to put aside 10 gigabytes and it's just going to loop that. That's about all I can tell that's different about it. So yeah, good job on the marketing there. So the pre-recording and loop recording are terrific features, but each one of these cameras handles the heat and the battery draw differently. Specifically talking about this guy. I've had some issues with this, but this is how the batteries stand out when you are not plugging them in. 1 hour and 20 minutes in, and the Ace Pro 2 stopped recording due to low battery, and the Hero just shut off too. Your GoPro overheated. Fucking GoPro. It overheated, but it's got 1% battery. So they're both done after 1 hour and 20 minutes, pretty much exactly on the nose. And we still got 46% left on the Action 6. So those two cameras obviously need battery power assistance. So next test is going to be to plug them in and see if we lose anything at all. So there's the hindsight stopped. Your SD card can't record with the current settings. Upgrade to a faster card, V30 or higher, to maximize performance. Now that was 6 minutes into this test, so 24 minutes into it, it cut out again, but this time it didn't give me a reason why. And it's giving me the hindsight again here at 26 minutes. And another mystery shut off here at 42 minutes. And it just shut off again here, winding down to the 1 hour mark. Okay, if you couldn't tell, I was a little frustrated with that test, especially with this little blue bugger right here. Quick revamp, I ran all three cameras at the pre-record for 15 seconds at 60 frames per second. The Hero and Ace Pro 2 both died at 1 hour and 20 minutes, so 80 minutes. And the Hero actually overheated. It had 1% left, but it croaked. No problems other than that with the Hero. The Action 6 went 2 hours and 11 minutes, so that's 131 minutes, so quite a bit more than the other two. So 1 hour and 20 minutes, or even the 2 hours and 11 minutes, just isn't good enough for those long road trips. So the next thing I wanted to test was plugging them in and seeing how they keep up with the charge. And I was using DJI 65 watt car charger and a 65 watt cable to make sure that they were getting all the juice that they needed. Now, this was interesting because the GoPro couldn't handle it at all. It was giving me that crazy error about the SD card, telling me that my SD card wasn't suitable. I was using a SanDisk Extreme Pro, and that's exactly what they recommend on their website, and that's what they sell on their website. So what was interesting is that it didn't do it when it wasn't plugged in. It was only giving me that BS code while it was plugged in. At the end of the test, even though it crashed 5 times within that hour, the Hero ended up with 87% battery left, whereas the Ace Pro 2 was a little bit less than that. It had 78% left, and at the end of an hour filming with the Action 6, there was still 100%. So by far the best and most reliable. Now, the overheat thing that I had with the GoPro there when it was unplugged, overheating's a thing. And out of these cameras, the GoPro is the only one I've really had issues with overheating. I did have both the Action 6 and the Ace Pro 2 overheat on that trip a couple of weeks ago with those dogs in Costa Rica. It wasn't significant. It was a really hot day, probably 34, 35 degrees Celsius, and the Ace Pro 2 overheated just a little quicker than the Action 6. It was just over an hour where they both overheated, and that was filming that pre-record at 60 frames per second. Now, the last mode that I really want to talk about is Hyperlapse, and they're all called something a little different. The Hero 13 calls it Time Warp, the Action 6 calls it Hyperlapse, and the Ace Pro 2 calls it Time Shift. And what this does is it speeds up your road trip basically from 10 times, 15 times, 30 times the speed. Now with all of these cameras, you have the option of hitting a little button on the screen, and what that's going to do, it's going to stop that hyperlapse and it's going to start recording normal right now. Watch it, doggo. That comes in really handy as well if you are running that hyperlapse and all of a sudden something really cool happens. You can just hit that button and you're not going to miss it, the video part that you wanted to catch. Oh, the dreaded fog dog marking his territory. So I've got a little tip if you plan on using the footage you're pulling off these Action dash cameras for cinematic purposes or for your YouTube channel, whatever it might be. I highly suggest that you use ND filters. A lot of the time I don't suggest you use ND filters on Action cameras because it needs the high frame rate to keep the stability up, so you get the jitters when you're walking around with it. But when it's mounted in a car, it actually looks really good. Now, I highly suggest that you get Freewell filters. They are by far the best from my experience. Freewell did send me out his pack for the Action 6, which is crazy because nobody sends me anything. And I was super pumped because I have been using Freewell filters. That's what I buy. I bought for the Mini 4 Pro, my Mini 5 Pro, my Mavic 4 Pro. I've spent quite a bit of money on these filters, and I've actually asked Freewell to stop sending me filters because I can buy them just like anybody else. And they told me that they were going to give me a discount code, which is fantastic because I can share it with you guys. And the best part is if you use the link in the description to purchase ND filters, I get a small cut, you get a 10% discount, and I can use that money to purchase more ND filters and Action cameras so that I can keep on making content just like this for people like you. So if you are thinking of purchasing an ND filter, consider using the link in the description. I really appreciate it. Now let's get back to the good stuff. Another thing that I absolutely have to touch on, and the only thing that the Hero 13 is gonna take a little slice of the cake on the dash camera testing, is the mounting options. Now with the Hero, you get this built-in quarter 20 thread as well as the fold-out ears. So that's all built right into the camera. And what I do is I mount these cameras on a rail like this. So with the Hero, you just spin her on and you're good to go, just like that. Now, the problem with the Action 6 and the Ace Pro 2, they have exactly the same problem, is they have these silly magnetic mounts, and that's the only option. I don't know why they don't have a quarter 20 thread built into them, but they don't. So what you have to do is go to a third party. I've got Newer and K&F Concept here for these two cameras. So how these work is they just clip onto the bottom, magnetically snap on there, and you get that quarter 20 as well. But another little problem with them is that they do kind of significantly increase the footprint of the camera. So you take the Insta360 and throw the Hero next to it, and you see it's quite a bit smaller now that you have a mount, and you always need a mount. So what I like to do is get these mounted on a rail just like this, and then you got a couple of options here. This is the one that I always use. It'll mount onto this, it's called a flash rail. I call it a camera rail, and it just spins on there, and then you can clamp this onto your rear view mirror in your car, just like that. And that's how I roll these cameras. So there is another way to mount them too, and you can do this on the dash. It's got a suction cup, and you just run the camera, stick it on the end. Oh, no mount on that. See, this is the problem. If they were all Heroes, we wouldn't have this issue. There, and you can fasten it down onto your dash like this if it's not too textured of a dash. I've had these fail on me more than once, so I don't really use them at all. In fact, I just had one fail on my tractor the other day where I almost ran the darn thing over. Holy smokes. All right, so that's what it looks like without any motion blur. Just trying to get to my well here. Spring has sprung. I thought this little sucker fell off and I thought I ran it over, but nope. Almost made her too. And then there's a low light. So a couple of these cameras have some pretty sweet low light settings on them, and one of them really has nothing at all. We all know the Hero 13 is not good at night, and it doesn't change any when you're using it as a dash cam. The Action 6 opens up a little more to let more light in, and it also uses a thing called Super Night to do some witchcraft inside of it and enhance the image that it already gets. The Ace Pro 2 is similar to that Super Night. It's got pure video, which also does witchcraft inside and enhances your night footage. Neither of them are super great for night footage, but they are better than any of the dash cameras that I've had, and they work pretty well. When it comes to resolution, we can max out at 8K with the Ace Pro 2. We can max out with 8K with the Action 6 and 5.3K on the Hero 13. That comes in handy if you need to zoom in to catch things like license plates, signs, stuff like that. One of the cool features with these cameras is that you can zoom in with all of them. The Hero 13, you max out at a 1.4 times zoom, while the Action 6 and Ace Pro 2 will both do a 2 times zoom. Now the difference between these two and their 2 times zoom is with the Action 6, you have to stop recording and then double tap that zoom button and it will zoom in, and then you start recording again. With the Ace Pro 2, you can do it while you're recording. You just hit the 2 times and it'll pop in there. But it is a bit of a safety on the Action 6, because with the Ace Pro 2, I have definitely hit that 2 times when I didn't want to hit it, and I ended up ruining a shot. But it comes in very handy when you need to zoom in on something like a license plate from somebody that just did something horrible and then passed you. And so there it is. If I could only recommend one of these cameras as a dash camera, I take my hat off to DJI and its battery life, its terrific heat management, and all of the modes that it has. And don't fill your pants quite yet if you're an Action 5 Pro owner, because this Action 5 is just about all the beast of the Action 6. There is nothing much more I can say aside from the 8K on the Action 6 where it beats out the Action 5. Terrific camera. Either of these top the podium for best dash cam. I'm the Jaunting Ape. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this one. Keep on jaunting, and the world is yours, my friends.